Hello. Oh, has it? You
Oh,
can hear me, but can't see
I can
me.
see
Yay.
you. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good to see you again.
Good
How
to
you
see
doing?
you as I live and breathe, Kristin Atherton. Home from your elopement.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hot off the press, that news.
Yeah, it was
Um,
beautiful. It looked really
oh,
nice.
thank you.
Yeah.
I literally, it's not something that like I know a lot of people have like their wedding planned since
hmm
they were, and I literally had no clue. So when I got proposed to, I was genuinely like, oh no, what do I do? I don't have a plan. So we kind of arrived at that magic together, which was, which is nice. It was, it was cool to kind of feel like this is happening because of the person I'm with, that it kind of got to develop in that kind of organic way because he's half
Right.
Scottish and, so we had like a hand fasting with his tartan, which is a Bruce tartan.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, yeah. And because I'm not Scottish. Uh, so I didn't have a tartan to reciprocate. And our celebrant, the fabulous Andrew Scott, if anyone is thinking of eloping in Scotland or just getting married in Scotland, he's a magnificent celebrant. He told us about some traditional Scottish wedding traditions, and if we'd been getting married with all our families present, traditionally, one of the women in my family would have torn off the bottom of her dress, and we'd have used that for the hand fasting. But because we didn't have anyone else present, I asked my seamstress who adjusted my wedding dress for me to keep the offcut from the bottom of my wedding dress, and so we used that.
Oh, cool. I
For,
didn't even know about that. That's a
yeah,
really cool tradition. And we
it's
kind of
beautiful.
when we got married, we had a few people, but we went to Hawaii. So we had a real small wedding on the beach. It's before they now I don't think they let you go on the beach and get married, but we didn't even ask, we just did it.
Yeah. Oh
And
wow.
yeah, it was really beautiful. And I did what you did. I had the traditional Hawaiian crown, like the flower crown, the haku. So I'm a big fan of the flower crown. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I love that. So I just
Thank you.
love it.
I'm so like I'm such a DIY person, like because I had my Pinterest board and stuff, and like and I would keep seeing like, oh, I like a bit of that, but I also like a bit of that, and so I ended
Yeah,
up making my own so that I could have exactly what I wanted, and so that
that's
then it could
smart.
feel like no
That's
one
totally
else has
smart.
this one.
Yep, that's
um
exactly. I didn't want what anyone else had either. I totally got it. So let's talk. I
yeah.
was like looking on the internet. I saw kinds of things about you that I didn't know. I did not know that you
Ah.
actually were an author of some children's books. Is that you?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
I,
Okay,
I
wrong
would
Kristen Atherton. Whoops, sorry.
I wish I was clever enough to have written children's books.
Well, I got that
I
wrong. So we're starting off well.
Don't
Okay, great.
worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
I realized it's actually a way more common name than I thought. I always thought I
Yeah.
was the only one. And then, but
Oh, yeah.
I have,
I always think that too, but then my day job, there's like a bunch of Judys. I was like, how odd. So, because usually I'm the only Judy, but all right. So I'd love to
ah,
talk to you a little bit about obviously your major role in Outlander. You're taking over the role of Jenny, excuse me, Jenny Fraser Murray. And so how did that come about? And you know, how did you feel when you got that job? Like, can you walk me through a little bit of
well,
that
I mean,
process?
so I don't know how the system works in the States, but in the UK, normally, you get, particularly after COVID, you get asked to do a self tape, and that's normally you find somewhere quiet and sort of inoffensive in your house, and so it's just you and a scene partner, and you do a couple of takes, and you send off the take that you think is the best one. And I got some feedback, where they said we like this, we like this, want to see a bit more of this. And normally, when you get feedback or they ask you to do another tape, you're already like, oh, okay, so I did an okay job. And I never think I did a good job. I always send my self tapes off and I'm like, oh God, no one's going to hire that face, are they? Because you've had to watch yourself over and over. Whereas traditionally, if you go into an audition and it's in the room with someone, you don't have that opportunity to know what you did and to analyze it and go, oh, is it any good? So I was shocked that they even wanted to hear from me again. Um, but I did a second tape and I thought, maybe they, would want me to come in and maybe like read with, Stephen or John or Sam or Kat. But I just got told they're really keen on you. We're gonna keep in touch. And then before I knew it, I was told you're on a plane in a week to go to Scotland
Oh,
to get
wow.
fitted for a wig. Um, and yeah, and they were very, very magnificent at making sure that, because a lot of the time when you film anything, unless you're kind of the series lead, you're called what's described as a day player. So even if
Okay.
you're in for more than one day, or even if you're in more than one episode, you're not always in the show. So you normally then just you arrive for your scenes, you have 30 seconds to meet the crew, and it's like, oh hey, you're my brother, or hey, you're my husband of 40 years or whatever. And they were very, very good at making sure that I'd met everyone properly. I had like a big one-on-one meeting with Sam and Kat.
Oh, wow.
They both gave me their numbers. Like the second Sam came in the room and kind of, you know, looked me in the eye and he went, "Hey sis," and just gave me the biggest hug. So
Aw.
I felt welcome right away. And and John Bell, I got introduced to, and I was in the middle of my wig fitting, which was super awkward because I'd been like super, super doing my research, and I'd watched and watched and watched and like rewatched, all of Outlander up until that point, so that, I could feel really bedded in and everything and know where everyone was
Mhm.
at. And I think especially because I was sort of getting up to where, John had been going through a lot of things character wise, and particularly because it links to, without spoiling any plot, his relationship with me, around losing his wife and his daughter, and how that really affects him emotionally. And so I was feeling incredibly fond of this person I'd never met in the flesh, and he felt like my son already. And so when he walked in the room, it was really hard not to just jump up and give him a massive hug, because I already felt quite in love with him. And I was being glued into my wig, so it felt really ill-timed. But yeah, and then we had the best time on set. He's, as you probably know, you've
Yeah, I
met
met him
John.
twice.
Um,
He's lovely and lots of fun.
yeah, and he's absolutely, as badly behaved as you could want. I always felt like when it was me and John on set, like we'd be annoying the crew because
Right.
we'd be being noisy and naughty and chatty off in a corner. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, Kristin, John, can you get over here? We need to line up the shot. It just be,
Well, just even
but
talking to him at Stats Next City, he was like very open and told me all kinds of things. I was like, wow, okay, cool. It's
yeah,
like, well,
yeah,
it's like you're my friend. It's okay. Yeah. It's just,
yeah. It's
I thought everybody was just really very
mm.
personable and open.
It's incredible. You don't always get that on TV shows that have been running such a long time, because they're this well-oiled machine. And I mean, understandably, especially when something films for such a long time over the year,
Right.
people can get very exhausted. You don't always necessarily, their priority is not necessarily welcoming people onto the set, because they've got a lot going on in their mind. So it really blew me away how every person that I was working with, kind of, it felt like they were taking time out to really make me feel welcome.
Oh,
And
that's great.
yeah, and especially knowing that, I mean, I'm taking over a part which is, it's iconic. And Laura's performance is iconic.
Yeah, she's really
She
good.
was, yeah, she was nominated for, another Olivier Theatre Award the other week.
I saw
I
that.
am I am under no illusion that, I'm doing anything other than stepping into absolutely enormous shoes. And,
Well, I mean, yes, you are, but I wouldn't, I mean, I know that I haven't seen, what you've done yet, but I mean, I think that, at least I think that whatever it's going to be is going to be phenomenal because you're just such a, bright light and such a great big personality. And you're just so sweet to everybody. I was like, I mean, and I like Laura Donnelly very much and think she's a wonderful actress. And I did get to meet her in New York
mm,
City at her, right before her play, The Ferryman.
that
Because
was,
we were
I,
weirdly enough, I wanted
yeah.
to meet her anyhow. It was right before my birthday, and we were at
Mm.
Starbucks, and my husband's like, "Isn't that Laura Donnelly behind you?" And he's like, "I thought you were going to yell at me." No, that's not her, but it was her behind me. So she and I had a real quick coffee together, and she was very, very lovely. So yeah, it was
Oh,
really, really, really nice. And then that play was like, if you ever have a chance to see The Ferryman, it's just
oh,
amazing.
oh yeah, I saw it, like, when it was,
You
because
did?
Yeah, 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 because her husband is an extraordinary playwright, and I already like
Right,
everything of his that he writes. I would just like literally, it doesn't matter how much it costs or how,
right.
early in the morning I have to queue up to get a standing seat. I was like, I'm going to see this
So I've
play.
only seen that, but
Um,
that blew my mind. I was like, holy
yeah,
cow. So, but
I
so after like so you got this role and
yeah.
you're thinking about it. And so when you were getting ready to like even just come to Sassenach City and meet everybody, were you like thinking a little bit in your mind like this is gonna be great? Or were you thinking like, are people gonna be weird because it's not the original Jenny? Like were you or did you have any like like I don't know, not second thoughts, but like some like maybe some like anxiety about going to meet people that love a character already or anxiety about joining that show,
Oh gosh, so much, so much. I mean, I think probably 90% of my brain, consists of anxiety anyway. So,
right?
I'm, um,
I feel
you
that.
know, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't, admit to have, yeah, been feeling a lot of nerves. Like, because there's no, especially because I haven't done anything yet to earn any, affection or love or
Right. We have
welcome,
nobody's seen anything, right?
exactly, so a big bit of me, just on a very neutral level was going, what are people going to want to know? Because they've never met me, like, not in a fictitious setting or a real one. So, I was sort of thinking, what am I going to talk about? Is anyone going to be interested in anything I've got
Yeah.
to say? So to be met with the amount of warmth and joy and love, like we were rock stars. And I know that, most of that is for everyone else. I'm riding on the coattails of
No.
everyone else's brilliance. It was humbling. And and I think my main thing was I kept saying to everyone who was so kind to me, I haven't done anything yet and you're all being so lovely and I don't want to let any of you down because, um I'm very aware that, I think I believe this about actors that um we all bring something which belongs to us, unique,
Of course.
and that's sort of the process of casting, it is actually that there isn't, arguably, I think it's why we still do Shakespeare plays over and over because there's not a definitive Hamlet, and there's not a definitive that, we all try and interpret the part. And some people interpret parts better than others, and some of them become
Hmm.
iconic, and some of them become like, oh my God, that is the best performance of that role. So, I've always known that I can't. I think I even like early when I was working on Jenny, trying to really emulate Laura. And every time I did that, I felt like the worst actress in the world because, she's her and I'm me. And also Jenny is much older and what she's been through by the point you're all going to meet my version of her, is sort of, yeah, there are, I can't say too much. I'm not
That's okay.
allowed,
I understand. I've
because
read
of
the book a
NDAs.
zillion
That, yeah,
times.
and
So
and and so I hope that whatever I have done is not jarring because for me the most important thing when there's that much affection and love for a piece of art, like a TV show or is that you don't want to spoil that for anyone. You
mhm.
don't you don't want to you don't want to jolt them out of their love and their affection for it. That was my biggest worry is I don't want to spoil
Yeah.
this for anyone. I don't want to spoil Jenny for anyone. I certainly don't want to, you know, um
I don't
treat it
think
with
that
any
yeah. I don't think you're gonna spoil it for anyone.
I
I
don't know.
think it's
I've
hard when
I've seen I've
when
seen
you
the
do
rushes.
something and you've done the work, right? And going to be hypercritical of yourself anyhow. But I think once people like see you, I think, and the people, especially the people who were at Sassenach City, I mean, they all kind of love you now anyhow. So, I mean, I think we all just kind of fell in
My
love
plan
with
worked.
everybody and you, and like I said, you were just perfectly lovely. And yeah, I mean, it's just, and I mean, I've read those books so many times. So like, if I watch
Yeah.
the show and it's different, like it doesn't bother me. I know it bothers some people, but you can't. Those books are like so thick, and there's
Do you
no way
know
you can get them into the whole show.
do you know what? Like, because as well as watching the show, because I read a lot and I love to read and I've always been quite,
Same. Yeah.
like I did end up reading it. I kind of like I inhaled it and when I
You
was
read the
on
whole
set,
series.
no, I read the bits that I began where I emerge, but of course there's a lot more of the book before that happens. But
Sure.
that's the book where I started because I didn't have that much time. I had like a
Oh,
week.
geez.
But yeah. Oh yeah, and you have a bit of prep time. Like, they had to teach me to horse ride. We had multiple wig fittings. You've got loads of costume fittings and stuff. And but so during that time, because you spend a lot of time sitting around and a lot of time on planes and stuff. So that was when I was able to read and to read the whole book. And a couple of times on set, when we'd sort of we encounter a problem or sort of be like, okay, so how do we make that line work? Or what do we think Jenny's doing at this point? And I'd be like, right, so in the book, what happened? And I felt like that kid in the class that goes, oh, 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 I know this. And yeah, so I was very like, well, the book says this. And yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I'm right there with you. I'm
yeah.
a fan.
Well, the books are just, I don't know. For me, when I started watching the show, hadn't read the books. And then my girlfriend's like, you have to read the books, you have to read the books. Like backtracked, started reading the books. And I'm like, I told my husband, I'm only gonna read a couple. Well, of course, that's why. I read like everything a million times. But it actually enhanced the show for me and I understood better what was happening.
Mm,
Because some of
yeah.
it's so Scottish. And I mean, I am a little Scottish, but I was, raised in the US. So I don't like half the time I had then I got smart and like put the closed captioning on so I knew what they were saying. I was missing dialogue. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But anyhow. So anyhow, it was just
Yeah.
an interesting experience for me. And this
Mhm.
radio show that we've done for 9 years now, I've always done written about bands or met bands and interviewed bands and musicians a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
And then when I started loving Outlander, which is kind of the book thing is normal for me, but to love a show like that for me is a little weird since I'm
Oh,
so much
right.
so into bands, right? My whole life.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so then I started interviewing all these actors because I was like, I'm gonna do like a little offshoot to my punk rock and rock and roll show, and I'm gonna do like a little like accent of like Outlander actors and Scottish people. I like. So I've started doing that, and it's just been like super interesting, and I met like some really great people. So
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. But so I have some other questions about you, like
Mm,
um, so what has acting taught you? Like you've been doing this a while, and I know you're also a voiceover actor. You've done a lot of books,
mm.
and people love to listen to your audiobooks that you voiced. Like, what is acting? Has acting taught you something? Have you learned something from it? Like,
That's a really good question. I like that question.
oh, good.
And no, I mean, because it was my default is always to go super esoteric and be like, yeah, acting. But genuinely, I think um I wish I was better at this in everyday life because I feel like I'm better at this when I've got my actor hat on than when I've got my regular person hat on. And it's about not judging people
Mm,
because
yeah.
when you perform roles, like a lot of the best directors will encourage you to be that character's advocate, so like to be on their side. So rather than going, oh my God, why is Jenny so angry and bitchy? Kind of going like, why is she doing that? Like, what's her motivation? Like, what is she trying to do? Like, it must be so hard to be such a strong, intelligent woman in what is a real man's world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how, if she'd been born today, like, she's got, there would be nothing holding her back.
All
She's
right.
she's got the full package. And so she must feel, I mean, this is a violent world. This is a very dangerous world, particularly
Mhm.
for women, like, the likelihood of sexual assault, of, not living to a ripe old age just because of the actions of human beings, let alone, the poverty and the disease and the everything else that was around, so you have to be tough. There's no room for her, I suppose, having the kind of the skills and the energy and the mind and the heart that she has to be anything other than incredibly, feisty
Yeah.
and not, kind of a soft wallflower. And that, Jamie, especially when he's younger, doesn't have the greatest track record, maybe of being able to take care of himself, that he gets himself into situations which are terrifying, for the family. And that sometimes she must find him incredibly frustrating from that
Sure.
perspective. Is just, and so rather than like, oh my God, she's having a go at Jamie again, it's just like, well, yeah, justifiably,
Right.
like, and that's, I think, and then I've played people who are way more, way less sympathetic than Jenny. And again, you have to go, why did those people feel that that choice was right? It doesn't mean that I would make that choice in my life, but then I
Mhm.
haven't lived the life they've lived and I haven't battled the things they've battled. And I find it really a fascinating exercise to go, well, yeah, what would make me behave that way? Like, what would I
Right.
have had to see rather than going, well, this person's a bad person. That's why they're doing that. And that's lovely. I wish I was better at that in everyday life. I do.
Oh, right. Well,
um,
and we're
um,
all incredibly human too. But I also think
yeah.
that Jenny is also, a product of her environment and someone who had to grow up
Mm,
too fast because her mother passed away and her father, really
mhm.
didn't know what to do. And she was thrust into a homemaker, mother, all kinds, incredible responsible role at a young age. So that's going
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
change you anyhow. So for sure,
100%.
absolutely. So
But
did
yeah.
you know that you always wanted to be an actor? Were you like, this is it? I'm going to be an actor? Or when you were younger, you were like, I don't know. Because some people are like, you know what? I knew when at 4 years old, I wanted to be a guitarist in a rock band. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't even, I was watching like Bugs Bunny when I was 4, but okay. Some people are super driven. So,
I I think I think of it as lucky that yeah, I think I knew from when I was about like 11, 12, this is what I wanted to do. There was like maybe a window where I could have applied to drama school or I could have applied to university and gone like a traditional academic route. And I kind of put myself forward for both in a sort of I'm going to see what my heart tells me. If I get into one, I don't get into the other, and it was so clear to me because I was really lucky again. I was offered a university place to study literature, and then I was offered a place at a drama school, and there was no question in my mind. I was just like, no, I wanna train. I want to be an actor. Um, but it's funny you say about writing children's books. There has always been a bit of me. I think of all the creative disciplines, aside from being a musician, because that seems like magic to me. I wish I could play an instrument,
same.
but writers are I love writers. I always am full of admiration for the fact that they literally, with just their brain, create something out of nothing. They build
Mhm.
entire worlds, and it just comes from inside them. It's yeah, I am in awe of writers, and so I've
Yeah.
always sort of
It's
wanted
not
to be
easy.
one. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think, when I get to do so many audiobooks and I get to live in so many different worlds all the time, that feels like such a privilege. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful uh, to these writers who've created these universes, and I've a little bit of me has gone, could I be a writer? So that's maybe like an unfulfilled ambition. But
I don't
as
think
you can
acting and
probably tell
writing are
by the,
so far apart, though.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
the thing, I mean, you can probably tell by the way I'm giving this interview right now. I talk way too much and I definitely
Oh,
write too much. Like every time I sit down and try and write anything creative, like my vows, it was a joke. My our photographers found me so funny because they said, look, it's going to look better in your photographs if you write down your vows in like a lovely bound book or something that like rather than reading them off your phone.
right.
And I was sat there an hour and a half later. We were late for the ceremony because I'd written so much in my vows, and Rich was done in like 20 minutes. So I know I write too much. I talk too much. I write too much. And if I became a writer, I would need to discipline myself. As like less
Well,
is more.
as someone who used to get in trouble in grade school and have to put my head down on the desk for talking, I can completely relate to that. People are always like, "You're so chatty. You're so extrovert." I'm like, it's not like it's a bad thing, but yeah, but it's
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So, but it's weird because then I can, for all the times that my mouth has gotten me in trouble, which has been many, and apparently I need to learn the hard way all the time. Um, I just don't have a really hard time like talking to if as long as it's not someone I dislike. If it's someone I dislike, then I'm like
Yeah.
very quiet. But yeah, I mean I can relate to that so much, so much.
Mm.
What else did I want to know? So what motivates you to like to want to act? Like where do you have to dig down deep? You know, you're preparing for a role, you're going to do this role. Um, you know, is there one thing that motivates you? Is it many things that motivate you? You know, what's your thought process before you like go in and just attack? Is that hard?
That,
Is that too hard? Is that too
no, no, no,
multifaceted?
no, no, that's another really good question. I think it's like, so if there's source material, like if you're doing something like Outlander already, I'm an over preparer. You know, it's a bit
Yeah.
like it's that thing in the classroom again where I'm like, I know. I'll I'll always read the books. I played Charlotte Bronte on stage as one of my first stage jobs,
Ooh,
and
nice.
I read 3 Charlotte Bronte biographies. And so I came in like, okay, so such and such says this about her, but like such and such thinks like that's complete nonsense. And and so I'd have like this going on in my head, like, kind of like too much information. I'd be like
Yeah.
overloaded, and sometimes that would get in the way. Um so I've learned that that's something I like doing, but it's not necessarily always helpful. It's good to
Mm,
have it. It's like, I did a season with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and we did all the Rome plays, and we had the most fantastic historical, kind of people like Mary Beard, who's one of the the main UK academics on the Roman era, coming in and talking to us, and I'd write all these notes and I'd put them in my script, and it's like, and that's good background. It's good for you to
yeah.
have that knowledge and to have that sitting there, but you can't act that. And that's something I've had to learn over the years, is that research is good, but it's not the acting.
Mm,
And so I end up coming from a place of the text is the most important thing. And when I say the text, I mean like what you have to say or what you don't say, and that's where you find your clues. Rather than, I mean, I think maybe when you've been acting a long time, you have maybe more confidence to be able to say things like, I don't like that line. I wouldn't say that. I'm much more like, I need to find a way to make that believable. Like, I
hmm.
don't maybe like that line, but it's the text and I have to make it work. Maybe because I love writers and I respect them and I think like
Right.
they know better than me. They just do. I'm not sure if that's right, but for me, that's always felt like the most fruitful place, that, that
Right.
it's like, know the text, know it back to front, know it sideways. If you're in a scene and you're not speaking, why? And you can get so much from thinking like, every time someone else speaks and you don't, why didn't you? Were you scared? Were you do you not want to waste your energy on that person? And it's just, and all of those, there's no right answer to any of those questions, but those questions are what make the performance interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you cannot speak in a scene because you're incredibly powerful, or you cannot speak in a scene because you have no power whatsoever, and making those
Right.
little choices
That's
you
a good
know
point.
and especially for television, because it's such a visual medium. It's really different from theater,
Oh yeah.
where it's really hard if you're not speaking in theater to get people to notice what you're doing, because you're normally the still point or the quiet point.
Hmm.
And I always look at the still people in a theater show. I almost never look at the person talking. Whereas on screen, so often the shot will be of you thinking or of you reacting, and it's not necessarily the person who's talking. So there's much more opportunity for those questions about, why have you not said anything? Did you want to say
Right.
something but you stopped yourself?
Right.
Are you biting your tongue? And it's all of that kind of groovy stuff. Like, that's the stuff I enjoy. But that's not, yeah. It's not the ultimate answer. All actors are different. That's just me.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Theater is so different anyhow because it's like in the moment and there's no like
Mm.
cutting and editing. So if like something goes wrong and there's a snafu, like the show must go on and it just keeps going. So that
Oh
energy
yeah.
has to just keep going. And TV, it's like you can cut, you can redo the scene, you can whatever, edit it out or whatever. I used to do theater and like in school years and years and years ago. But I mean,
Yeah.
theater's like, yeah, it's quite a rush too. So
But
I think so.
I kind of love that. I think sometimes your best stuff comes from those little accidents or those little
Yeah.
mistakes, or, I think like, yeah, and also I'm super accident prone. So
Oh
the
no.
amount of the amount of times I've injured myself or someone else on stage,
Yeah.
and like afterwards someone's come up to me and go, "Oh my God, that moment was so believable." And it's like, that's because the pain was real. Um,
Like, well, I'm glad because I had no idea that was going to happen.
oh gosh, I know, I
Well, I
know.
just have like two
I've
more questions and then
go
I'll
for it.
let you go live your life. Um,
Yeah,
so,
mad Saturday night.
it's like kind of Saturday morning-ish for us, so we're pretty good so far. So what do I want to know? I want to know like, so I know that you just eloped and you love to read, but what else do you
Mm.
like to do in your spare time? Like, do you have a hobby, or are you like, I just want to go on vacation, and relax, and you're like beach and book girl, you know,
Oh, I mean, I like
or do
if
you not
anyone.
have any downtime and you're just like,
Do you know what? It's a good that's a I'm glad you said that because I'm awful at doing nothing.
oh,
Like
same,
I'm if I get to the weekend, I have to have a project.
right,
So
right,
my especially in the summer, my default project is gardening. I love gardening. I'm not very good at it, but I'm very enthusiastic about it. And I it's such a fount of knowledge. Like
yeah,
every time I kill something, I'm like, right, why did I kill that? Right, I'm gonna, you internet and books and all that. And
yeah, yeah. I'm
and you
bad at
can
plants.
oh
So,
yeah, me too. Me too.
I have
I
two that are
pity.
still alive. I'm really excited.
Keep going, keep going.
Well, one of them is
Um,
an orchid and it keeps
oh,
blooming again. And my husband was like, you should throw it out. You should throw it out. And I'm like, no, I believe in it. And I mean, don't tell her this, but she's named Katrina. But I talk to her every morning and I'm like, you're beautiful no matter what, even without the blooms. And then she just comes back every year for me. And all my friends are like, how do you do that? And I said, I literally give her two ice cubes a week and I talk to her and I tell her
hmm.
that she's beautiful. And my friends are like, okay, whatever, Judy. I'm like, no, for real. That's what I do.
No, it's true. It's true. Literally, there is a science behind it, and I'm not scientific enough to know what the science is, but I know there's a
Right.
science. Talking to your plants works.
Yeah,
I
I do
know it.
all positive all the time. I'm like, you're beautiful no
Yeah.
matter what. I love you.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh
My
yeah.
husband's like, who are
So
you talking to? I'm like, I'm talking to Katrina.
and clearly it's working. So don't stop. Don't stop what you're doing. But
Yeah,
so yeah,
so,
I love to garden. I like to cook and bake as a stress relief.
oh, nice.
I know plenty of people that don't particularly enjoy cooking or whatever, but I like if I have a free weekend, I will invite friends over and I'll be like, right, we're having a three-course dinner and
Nice.
tonight
Oh, wow.
and because I love to travel, like when we go on holiday, my poor husband, I don't let him rest. Like pretty much we'll touch down in like Vietnam or whatever and we'll have had like a 12-hour overnight flight and I'll be like, right, I've booked us on a walking food tour. He's like, no. And I'm like, no, 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 it's 11 a.m. We have to get on Vietnamese time. Otherwise we'll never not be on, we'll be on UK time for the rest of the holiday.
Right.
And so he's like, eyes open with matchsticks following me around like this, the Vietnamese street food tour. And, or like when we were in Thailand, I let us go to the beach for like 2 days, and the rest of the time I was like, right, so there's this temple. Oh, and also we're going to go to a cooking class. Oh, and then there's like a moped tour and I can just see him going,
Yeah.
okay. But I'm a big foodie, so wherever we've traveled, I'll then when we come home, I'll try and do
Yeah.
like a themed dinner from what I've
Oh, sounds
learned.
lovely.
I'm very I'm very extra because again, it's a bit like gardening. I don't think I'm the best cook, but I'm really enthusiastic. So if
Well,
it goes
I
wrong,
think that's half the battle for everything. If you're like enthusiastic about it. And as far as being extra, people have been telling me I'm extra my whole life. And like, now I embrace it and I don't care. I'm
yeah.
extra. Yeah. Okay. I have a big personality. I'll be the best friend you ever had. I'll be your loyal. Anytime you need me, I'll be there. I'll be the best
Yeah.
extra friend you have. I don't even, when you're younger, everybody's like, you're so loud. I'm like, okay. But it's like I think being extra and being enthusiastic I think that's a good thing and that's a rich thing. And I love like, not that I don't like people who are, people that are different than me. They don't have to be as extroverted.
Mm,
But I mean, people that have a big personality, like I love that and I gravitate towards that. So I mean, that's probably why
mm.
I just like you.
Oh, that's the nicest thing I've
Like,
heard in
I'm like
quite
a
a
Kristin
while.
Atherton fan club person. But so
Oh,
yeah, and thank you so much for doing this. I super appreciate it. I know I kind of like
not at all.
when I met you, I was like, so I have a radio show, and you're like, I'm like, am I gonna get yelled at for telling you that? Like,
No, 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 no.
well,
No,
because I don't want to
I
like, promote my show like at someone else's
oh goodness, no, 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 no. But I think one of the one of the nicest things we can do when we're in, as it were, like the universe of enthusiasm, when
Yes.
there's a lot of passionate people in one place and you're all passionate about one thing. It was a really beautiful thing for me to be able to go like, oh my God, I've been given some free art. Who are these artists? I'm going to follow you on
Yes.
Instagram. Or like, you know, I mean, even just the process of getting married, like being able to go, okay, so the person who made my wedding cake is this person. They are so talented for,
Yes.
that you pass on some of the, like, if someone comes to you with something lovely, like their enthusiasm for a show, or how warmly they've welcomed you into a fandom, and you kind of go, yeah, yeah, let's be enthusiastic together,
Yes. Yeah.
across the airwaves. I think it's I can't think of a sort of a better use of being on this planet than
Right.
to
Right. Right.
pass around some enthusiasm.
Oh
um
yeah, I agree. So my last question is, so
mm,
what do you think is going to be next for you? Like, I mean, I know you're in the second half of season 7, and I'm assuming you're in 8 too, if the books are following the pattern. So
she's not allowed to say.
I know I'm just like leading you down the path, but you can just shut me down. It's okay. But
Yeah,
so like, what after?
I've
Like, do you
mm.
have like a plan after Outlander? Are you already committed to doing something else? Or are you just gonna enjoy being married and do some more audiobooks
No
or
plan. I mean,
travel?
yeah, I mean, I'm very there is a saying amongst the acting community that if you really want a job, you should plan a holiday. So I'm
Oh,
constantly
right.
planning I'm constantly planning holiday. I'm very, because the industry is so unpredictable. There is a universe in which the episodes come out, and because there's suddenly a lot of attention on me as an actor, I get way more auditions, and then there's a universe in which that doesn't happen. And so, I think you don't always, as an actor, feel like you have a lot of control over your career. You can have things that you want to do, and you can
Right.
express, enthusiasm, and, you can ask the universe. I feel like the universe has been very positive when I've been like, I'm really enjoying this. Can I do a bit more of this, please?
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, but, I a little bit of me misses being on stage. I really miss doing Shakespeare because I think he's a genius.
Oh, for sure.
So that would be like a wish list thing, but, I also know that it's, there's a kind of chaos. I'm very lucky because audiobooks seem to be quite, regular, I think, because I've got a reputation? I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the best kind, right? So,
Yeah, I hope it's a good reputation as opposed to
oh
bad
no,
reputation.
yeah, of
I,
course.
but also, like, for example, I won a big old shiny audio award the other month, and it's
Oh, I
literally
did see
like,
that. That's right. Congratulations.
yeah, an Audi, which, like, when I started, I mean, it's sort of the Oscars of the audiobook, so blew my brain winning that. But did it mean that all of a sudden, like, every audiobook I submitted for I got? If anything, I felt like, hang on a minute. If people stop hiring me, I've got an Audi. And it's chaos. Like, this industry is so unpredictable and so random. So I prefer to kind of, yeah, ask the universe for the stuff I want, and in the meantime plan a load of excellent holidays
Yeah, well, your
because
pictures and your holidays look like a lot of fun. So, and I'm a
I
big fan of like what you do. Like we do a lot of tours and then we'll spend a little time on the beach. So yeah, I'm all about that.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
yeah.
thanks for sharing all that too. It's fun to follow.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm just I never want to make anyone feel like, "Oh gosh, shut up about being on the beach,
Oh
Kristen."
no.
It's more that I just like, again, I feel like I'm kind of advertising the world at people. I'm just
Yeah.
like, in case you haven't thought of going to this place, it's so awesome. You
Well,
should go.
also
Like, if you
people
ever
that are
go.
your fans, like people love that. They love like the little social media posts. I mean, I do. I go and look at everybody. I'm like, oh, look what this so and so just did. I mean, it's fun. So I mean, I
Yeah.
don't take like some people take it way too seriously, but I take it as, oh, it's fun to see like these actors that I love so much enjoying life, and it's fun to see what they're doing. So I mean,
Mm,
for me, it's all just like good fun, and
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I should
And
be
it's
doing something else with my time than like sitting around looking at Instagram stories about
oh, we all sit around
I
like
know, like
literally when we're
scroll,
in the
scroll, scroll.
I mean, I actually, so when we're on set, we have these little tents that are called the easy ups, and it's where the actors go so that they know where we are when they need us.
Mhm.
And we're all sat in the easy ups scrolling.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're not sat there having like, incredible conversation. I mean, sometimes we do, but
Right.
um, yeah, like occasion. I don't know if I said this at Sassenach. I'm sure I did. I know how to read palms, and so I think maybe my third day on set, I was sat around reading everyone's palm.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it was funny when I went for a drink with John the other day, and he was like, "Do you remember what you said to me when you read my palm?" And I was like, I think so." And he was like, "You are so right, and I think about it all the time." And I was like, "That's so
Oh,
cool." But
oh,
mostly we're sat in the easy up scrolling
yeah.
on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
there's no difference between any
Uh,
of us,
the
you
only
know.
difference is like what you're putting on Instagram is more interesting than like maybe what
Uh-uh,
I
no way, no way. I mean,
I just
I default to my cats when I'm not traveling,
oh yeah, well
it's fine.
everybody likes animals, so that's totally fine. And they are cute.
Oh,
I just want to say thank you so much for your time. It's absolutely wonderful to talk to you again. And I hope that I get to see you again and we can chat like we're old friends now. So
that's my favorite thing.
no, so
No, thank you.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really had a good
You
time and you're very wonderful. So
you don't need to thank me at all. I feel really, really lucky. Thank you for having me.
oh,
Um,
absolutely. Anytime. Oh, well, thank you, Kristen. I hope to see you soon and be well. And
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely Saturday.
Yeah, you as well. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.